so leading your national peak body. I'd just like to start with the men's karakia first. So ki konei tata he poipoi ina tamariki, rangatahi mina whānau, ki te mihi, ki a tautoko Montessori, mina tangata katoa. E tautoko, e a Montessori, e Aotearoa, ka whanei tātou ina kaiako, ka toho ina tamariki, ka arihi e tēnei whenua rangamarie. So welcome everyone. It's great that so many of you have been able to join us. I'm not going to take up any time. I'm just going to pass you over to the lovely Lauren. I've been working with ECEDocs, which were school docs, of course, I'll go back. I had helped one of our schools write all their policies onto school docs about 18 months, 2 years ago. So it was really, really exciting for me when Lauren approached me and we started having the conversation about the idea that they were thinking about for ECEDocs. So I'm absolutely thrilled that Lauren is happy to share this, and they will be attending conference down in Christchurch in a couple of months. So you are welcome to be asking them further questions then and have a look. So I'll pass you over to Lauren. Tēnā koutou.
Thank you very much, Kathy. Welcome everyone. Really lovely to have you. Appreciate having such a good turnout. I'm just the front of this for now. Vanessa and Claire are the absolute brains behind what we're going to talk about, so they'll be doing most of the talking when it comes to it. If you can't see my screen, because I'm going to switch over, I won't be able to see you, just shout out and tell me what you can see. But yeah, we are ECEDocs, the business school docs, which is our parent owner, has been around for 20 years, so have a big, long history in writing policies. I won't keep you on this slide for too long, but just to explain a little bit about what we do, we essentially write policies for ECE centres. That includes home-based, Te Kōhanga Reo and education and care services. We keep them up to date because the rules change all the time and it's incredibly hard to keep up with. That's something I'm learning more and more. And we're here to offer support. Our team's based in Christchurch. Whenever something is difficult, if you feel under pressure, if you've got an incident you need to discuss, give us a call. No kind of judgment. Here to help you where we can. And we've designed these policies with experts in the sector. One of them you're going to be hearing from today, Claire, who is added an awful lot of kind of really deep sector knowledge for us to add to the already great experience Vanessa and the team have with schools. We're really proud to partner with Montessori Aotearoa New Zealand, and we're also partnering with Te Maioha. So I will kick into it. As I said, ask any questions that you need to in the chat. What we're going to cover today is, first of all, what's the big picture? We know the licensing criteria changes. There's quite a lot of noise and a bit of confusion about what guidelines have been updated, what needs action, what can wait for later. So we're going to talk you through that. And then we're going to help you with a bit of a roadmap of where to start, what really needs your focus areas and needs kind of some more consideration. Then we'll cover any questions you've got. After we've held this webinar, I can also share some resources. So we'll follow up with a recording. We've also got a few other things that you can use to print off, stick up in your centre, or to use as a checklist to help you act on what you need to. So I'm going to hand over to Claire to talk you through the big picture, what's happening and how to approach these changes. Over to you, Claire.
Thank you, Lauren. So lovely to see everyone. This is the first time we've co-presented with ECEDocs, so this is going to go really well, or might not, but we'll see how we go. Really interested in questions as well, so please, like Lauren said, pop your questions in. I think the great thing is we're all learning together, aren't we? You know, the ECE is an ever-changing beast. If you're anything like me, I got so super excited about the review of ECE. You know, a little bit up and down with the final licensing criteria that came out, but I think it's starting to make sense to us. So, so looking at what's changing. So just the overview really is, for some of you that have been in the sector as long as me, who can, you know, speak to every single criteria number and knows it by heart because we've worked with it for so long, we've got to relearn all the numbers because the criteria numbers are all changing. Just there's less criteria, but there's not a lot less information in those criteria. Mostly it's been merged with just a couple of things eliminated, but not really a lot. What I was really excited to see, and I'm not sure if many of you have had a chance to have a look yet, is the new MOE website that shows you all the information around the new licensing criteria. So if you go onto the website, you'll be able to see the new criteria, and it's got all the guidance in there as well. What I like about the new website is it's got the criteria and the guidance, which is what we're used to. But it's also got a section on how we will be assessed against the compliance of the criteria. Now, when we go into that section, there's some really great questions, which is going to help you review your own compliance against that criteria. So Ministry have been really great to put in the questions that they're going to be asking us. So I think that's a good starting point when you're looking at how you're complying. Go through those questions, work as a team, and have them pre-planned so that you know where your work is and where your focus needs to be. You'll also notice that there's quite a bit of wording change. A lot of the feedback around the regulatory review was the lack of consistency of implementation from regional ministry offices. Interpretation, there's an awful lot of grey in our regulations, I'm sure you'll agree. So what Ministry's tried to do is be a little bit clearer, a little bit more clarity. And there's also been a little bit of softening there with some of the obligations. But again, not a lot of softening. Okay. The retention periods seem to have changed. That's an area that I've noted. Currently, we've got a whole lot of different timelines that we need to keep our documentation for. What I've noticed in the new criteria is a lot of those timeframes have moved to best practice as opposed to being in the compliance requirements. But do note, if they've removed kind of the 2-year needing to hold on to something, it doesn't mean start throwing things away, because Ministry and ERO will continue to check our compliance against our documentation. So I think what it means is you may not need to keep some things for so long as what you've currently been keeping them. A little side note, the 7 years for staff information and your funding, that stays the same, that's not changed. So it's just things like medication, sleep charts, all those big boxes of archiving that you have all got under your desks and in your cupboards. So you just might want to review the retention periods and see if you need to make some changes. One of the great things with being involved with ECEDocs is they're doing most of the work for you behind the scenes. So I think we're all very lucky that all that work's being done. So by the 20th of April, I'm looking at Vanessa. By the 20th of April, all the updated policies and the guidance for you to understand the changes will all be in place. But there's still quite a bit of work for you to do around your procedures and your processes. So we'll get into that now. So when we've had a look at how to present to you, what we've kind of categorized is there's around about 8 areas that we want to talk to you about that we kind of see as quick decisions. They're things that you can make a quick call on as a team, as a leadership team, and then move on to the next. We're looking at 4 areas that we believe will take a little bit more time, and you probably need to really factor some solid time in with your team to make some decisions. And then there's a whole lot of other stuff you just need to make sure you're aware of and you've read and understood the changes. So we'll start with the 8 areas of quick decisions. Now, what we've put here is that these decisions will take less than an hour, but of course it depends how collaborative you are and how well you make decisions, because if it was me, I'd talk about it for 3 hours anyway. But so the first one, the thermometers on the walls, such a simple little thing. There's never been a requirement to have a fixed thermometer on the wall, but as you all know, we've all had to have a requirement of checking that temperature at 50 centimetres from the ground, and ensuring it stays at 18 degrees. So that hasn't changed. But there's a little bit of strange wording in there about fixed thermometers being out of reach of children and up to the height of 150 centimetres. So just to clarify here, I think the decision to make is, do you continue with fixed thermometers on the wall? Are they out of reach of children? Or do you just have a thermometer on a hook and you bring it down and check the temperature as and when you feel there's a need to? That's pretty much it. It's a, carry on doing what we're doing or change practice. The first aid kits, there's just a couple of changes with the first aid kit. Currently there's a specific list of items that we get audited against by ministry. That list has now gone from compliance and it's now moved into an additional tool. So what that means is, as long as you've got a good system for checking your first aid kit supplies and they meet the needs of your children, then it's up to you to a certain degree what you put in there. Okay. Now this little point around paracetamol and ingestibles, this is really related to medication, but it kind of sits under here as well. It's kind of been a long-standing practice that some centres have kept a bottle of Pamol in their fridge in case a child gets a high temperature. Now that process has not been something that has been supported by ministry for a very long time, but it's one of those practices that sticks around. Ministry have now been extremely clear that centres are not to provide ingestible medications for children. So if you've got centre-based Pamol in your fridge, get rid of it. It shouldn't be there. You can give Pamol if it's prescribed for that child and provided by that parent. So it's just a little note. Fridge temperatures, just a little change here. If your centre has an MPI certificated kitchen, you stick to MPI rules as you currently are, and ministry will not be auditing your kitchen. So that's been left with MPI now. If you're a lunchbox centre, then this change from 4 degrees to 5 degrees relates to you. So you can either keep your fridges at 4 degrees, you're still meeting compliance, or you can turn them up slightly and you'll still meet compliance. Just for those lunchbox centres, the only piece of work here is to just check your paperwork, your procedures and forms, and check that they say, move them to say in 5 degrees. Are we going all right for time here, Lauren?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Great. Okay, the annual planning and the budget. So the change has been made to remove the requirement for an annual plan and a centre budget for centres on a full licence. So if you're on a probationary licence, you still need them to meet compliance. But if you're on a full licence, ministry and ERO will no longer be checking that you have an annual plan and a budget. Now, what I find interesting about this one is you usually need a budget to know what you can spend on resources, so it's still good to have one. And you're still required to ensure that you can keep a track and manage all your tasks, ensuring you remember to do your first aid certificates on time, ensure that you do your safety checking on time. To me, you could call it an annual plan and it still works, or you can move that over to a calendar if that works better for you. I think the quick decision here to make is, do you have an annual plan that currently works really well for you? If it does, we recommend you carry on until the end of the year and review your practices for next year. If your annual plan's not working for you and you much prefer everything on a calendar on the wall, then that's a discussion to have within your team and within your leadership team, and to decide whether you move to that. Okay, so really quick decisions so far, I think. So 4 more quick decisions that we're highlighting. GMA 1 and GMA 2 talks about access to information for parents. Now, I'm sure we've all been in lots of daycare centres where you're overwhelmed by the notice board as you walk in the door with everything that you need to put up there. Ministry are now reducing the amount of things that need to be on your notice board on the wall. So they're mandating that you only need to display your current licence, and if you have any conditions attached to that licence, and who to contact in the event of a complaint. That kind of usually looks like your complaints flowchart, but doesn't necessarily need to. It could just have your centre manager's name on it. What we do need to meet this compliance requirement, though, is you need to let parents know how to access all the other information. So if it's not displayed on the wall, how do you let parents know how to access it? Where will they find it? How easy is it for them to get to it? I think Lauren's going to share just a draft, an example that you could stick on your notice board and adapt for that. Okay, philosophy statements are really close to a lot of our hearts. Now, it is coming out of the licensing criteria, but that doesn't mean you need to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Philosophies are still extremely powerful in focusing your identity as a centre and a community. If you have a philosophy that you're really attached to and it works really well for you, we recommend that you keep it, at least until you do your next review, and then look at it then. Yeah, I think to meet the curriculum criteria, yeah, it's hard to move too far away from a philosophy statement, but you may want to move eventually to a place where you focus more on your learning priorities and move away from that, you know, or you have a mission statement or something. But yeah, so that, can you see, it's another quick decision. Do we deal with it now, or do we move it and worry about it later? These last 2 points are really just things to be aware of, so no action needed necessarily, just to read. We have had quite different kind of management of notifications to MOE around the country. And what Ministry are now wanting to do is make it really clear, what do they want to know about and what do they not want to know about. So I strongly recommend you go and have a read of HS 128, as it's going to be now known. What they've done is they've clearly set out what situations they need to know about. It includes things like children leaving the centre without an adult. So that's one of our gorgeous little ones deciding to go and nip over the fence, even if it's for 2 minutes, into the car park. Ministry are now really clear they want to know that. So make sure you have a read of that criteria and make a note of it. GMA 7, a little bit of a change there. The HR criteria, they've removed a couple of things out of that, but actually nothing changes for us. They've removed PGC, but as you know, we still need PGCs for teaching council, so nothing changes there. I think they've removed job descriptions, but we need those for employment law. So yeah, just have a look at that, but no real change in regards to practice for you. Okay. Were there any questions in there, Lauren, on those that we could answer now, or should we keep tracking?
Yeah, if we can keep Q&A to the end, just in case we squeeze for time.
Perfect. Okay. So now on to the focus areas. They were the easy ones, okay? Hopefully, you can see they're the easy ones. Now there's 4 focus areas that we just want to talk to in a little bit more detail. So hopefully you're already aware that as of the 8th of January this year, the immunisation collection requirements have been removed from centres. So what that means is you are no longer required to collect immunisation certificates that you chase parents for, and you're no longer required to keep a record of your registers. That's all done for us now. So your actions, if you haven't already started, is to stop collecting those immunisation certificates. You don't need them anymore. Any that you have in children's files, they need to be archived. So find an archive box and sit there with a piece of chocolate cake and a cup of tea and start archiving those. We're going to come back to the enrolment forms, but also I would think, I'm not really aware, but I would think that APT and Infocare and all of those SMS providers have already changed and adapted what questions they ask. If they're still asking you to put in the details about immunisation, you might need somebody to get in touch with them and see when their updates are coming. In the background, ECEDocs are working hard on the policy changes, and there's already been some changes to the infectious diseases and the enrolment policies just to meet this change. Okay. The emergency drills is currently, all drills have to be carried out and documented at least 3 monthly. So if you're a day over 3 monthly, you're non-compliant currently. This is changing to 4 monthly. So that means you will probably need to make a few decisions as a team whether you move your drills from 3 monthly to 4 monthly. You move from 4 a year to 3 a year. It's not quite as simple as that though, because you've got your FENS fire drill requirements, and a lot of centres are either on a 3 monthly FENS notification drill or on a 6 monthly one. So in my brain, if you move to 4 monthly, it doesn't align with 6 monthly FENS notifications. So I think what we recommend you do here is have a look through and take this opportunity to review your emergency management plan, which should be done annually anyway, and have a look at your FENS. Have a look at what kind of frequency you need to be notifying FENS of your fire drills, and then make a decision about all of your drills. Okay, so if you continue on a 3 monthly cycle as you are now, you will stay compliant. So you may again choose to just leave this as it is for now and come back to it at a later date, but that's up to you. Thanks, Lauren. Now this is the one I have to pause before because I may make a few mistakes in this one because it's a little bit complex. Medication administration. This one does require your action now to be compliant, okay? This is the one that you do need to do something in preparation for the 20th of April. I think there'll be a bit of a grace period, but yeah, this is the one to start with potentially. So as we know, we currently have 3 categories of medication, and that's moving to 2 categories of medication. So at the moment, our category 1 medications are the ones that you provide for first aid purposes, arnica, insect spray, things like that. They're the current medications that you get parents to sign for at enrolment to say that they are okay for you to use. Moving forward, there's no longer any requirement for documentation around that. So our current Cat 1s somehow go out the window. And what's currently category 2, which are your short-term medications provided by parents, antibiotics, ear drops, things like that. Those category 2 medications are now moving and going to be called category 1 medications. I personally wish they'd called it something completely different, but that's okay. So category 2 medications become category 1 medication. there's a few changes to how you manage your category, your short-term medications, and it is likely to need you to have a look at your forms, your medication registers, and make some changes. So at the moment, for short-term medications, you'll know that if a parent brings in medication, antibiotics for 10 days, you've got to get the parent to sign it in and sign it out every day. The ministry have made some change in our criteria to say that the parent can sign the whole course of that medication in up to 10 days, I think it says. So what that means is where you've probably currently got some really nice lines in your medication register, there's a potential that you can do it slightly different. So you could get a parent to sign in antibiotics on a Monday and to say that we need it administered for 5 days. And then they wouldn't need to sign it in again. You would need to keep documenting every time you administered that medication, and the parent continues to need to sign it at the end of the day to say that they know you've given it. Okay, so the only change with the documentation for those short-term medications is the parent doesn't need to sign it in every single day. So that's a little bit of a kind of like, how do we do that? How do we change our forms? If you decide to keep getting parents to sign those short-term medications in every day, then you still need to change the title of those templates to ensure that it recognises that it's now going to move into Cat 1 medication. Okay, sorry, the other thing with the, just go back a sec, Lauren. I know I'm probably going on a bit about this one, you're trying to hurry me up a bit. The other thing is our enrolment forms. So I mentioned the enrolment forms earlier. Your current enrolment forms for your currently enrolled children talks about immunisations, and it also talks about category 1, 2, 3 medications. So you don't need to go and change all your enrolment forms. We can just stick a notice into your, to give a form to your parents to inform them of the changes. But then you'll need to move to a new enrolment form as of the 20th of April. There's been a couple that ministry have issued, and the first one they issued wasn't quite right, but the one that came through with the bulletin last week is probably the most correct one. But we can keep you posted on any further updates to those. Thank you, Lauren. Okay, so the review, that's medication finished. Now on to operational review. You'll notice when you look at the criteria, GMA 6 currently talks about self-review and internal evaluation. That's moving to GMA 104, and it only talks about review. So it's got rid of a whole load of words. Now, what that means in practice is to meet GMA 104, you only need to show evidence that you're carrying out reviews, internal reviews. That is around your policy reviews, it's around your operational practices, following incidents, injuries, your monthly analysis, if you're reviewing practice following a concern, or your drills, you're evaluating your drills. All of those review practices will continue to sit within GMA 104. What is coming out is internal evaluation. Now, it's not coming out altogether, so it's coming out of GMA 104. But what it does is it kind of moves under the curriculum criteria, because you'll still need to be reviewing your practice, the effectiveness of your curriculum, your assessment and planning, and internal evaluation is such a good process for that. So our recommendations here is if you're doing a great job and currently meeting compliance, don't change the world, don't stop in the middle of an internal evaluation, keep going, and to have a look at it a little bit later on. Okay, I think that's me. Oh, phew.
Thank you very much, Claire. That was brilliant.
It's okay.
So we've got a few more bits to share with you that kind of relate to the changes, but yeah, we just wanted to kind of remind you really that everything that we've talked about when it comes to policies and resources and the guidelines, that will all be inside ECEDocs on April the 20th. So if you want to avoid all of the boring policy pain, which I know lots of people would like to, we've got a team who love it, but if you don't want that stuff, you could talk to Dave, get a demo, we can show you around. I'm very happy to do that and answer your questions in more detail. We send advisories every term which explain what's changed, what to do about it. We consolidate lots of things from the bulletin, so you've got one place to find lots of information which can otherwise be quite fragmented and hard to keep track of. We try and make the actions really clear as well, because we know that your time is very limited and we're doing our best to support you on those changes and on this journey. And we also support you with your policy reviews. So we have a review schedule, and then each term we identify a set of policies. We lead the review. We look at best practice. We look at the guidelines that have come out in the kind of period since the last review. We make some recommended changes for you to then look at with your team, look at with your families and whānau, see what you need to change in terms of your practice and your implementation, and then that gives you the tick box for ERO to say yes, you've done everything you can, along with the evidence to prove when you're ready for inspection time. So hopefully we're there to really help you with this journey. I would love to know if we have any questions, and I have struggled to see the screen whilst I've been looking at the presentation, but maybe Vanessa and Dave, if you could feed some questions if there are any from the chat, or if not, I know that we've got a couple that Claire and Vanessa wanted to kind of call out first thing. So yeah, Dave or Vanessa, anything you have for us?
There is a couple. Hang on, I'll pull them up. A couple. Do we need to have the updated policies ready by the 20th of April, or are we reviewing them by then, please?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And the great thing about ECEDocs is a lot of that's done and will be ready for you if you're part of the ECEDocs family. So that makes it super easy. In essence, because from a legal perspective, the licensing criteria changes on the 20th of April. Yes, to meet compliance, you should have everything ready by the 20th of April. Now, saying that, I am getting a very clear picture that there'll be some fairness push forward with that. So I can't see Ministry turning up on the 21st of April and doing a full audit check and putting you on a provisional because you haven't got all your documents ready. But don't quote me on that, because it may happen. Depends what else is going on in your centre, I would say. But yes, we should be ready. The intention is that we're ready by the 20th of April.
Another one, it's more a comment, but it'd be good to get a comment from you, Claire, on it. It's from Rowena. It seems to me that things like philosophy, annual plans and budget are clearly a good idea. The ministry just won't be checking on them. This doesn't mean that we shouldn't have them. These changes are merely about running our own centres as we see fit. So are they still good business practice, just not the MOE's business?
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. Absolutely best practice. And yeah, it just means you're right. Completely right. Ministry just won't be in a position to give you a non-compliance against them.
Yeah. Another one, surely with immunisations, parents could optionally give us this information so that if we had a measles outbreak, we can then let immunised families know to be mindful. Is there no requirement to hold it? There is no requirement to hold it, but by the policy but the parent option, surely we can still hold it.
Yeah, it's
That's
a really
good
good
thing.
point. I think there's some confusion around this. So to meet our Privacy Act requirements, we're only allowed to hold and gather information that we're required to by law or by or to meet good business practice. Now, we will not need to hold immunisation records at all, because if there is an outbreak, it's the public health's responsibility to notify you, and it's their responsibility to provide you guidance as to what you need to do if there is anything to do. So it's the local public health who hold all the responsibility around immunisations. So we're not in a position to suddenly send children home without the guidance of public health. So to meet your Privacy Act requirements, you don't need to hold them. So there is no requirement to hold them.
Yeah, and also changes around child protection and reviewing scenarios. That's a comment.
Yes.
Yes.
Gillian, we kind of didn't add that in because with ECEDocs, when they do the reviews of the child protection policy, that information will come to you then. But yes, there is a change to the child protection, the reviewing of that policy. We review it on a 2-yearly basis. And what currently we're doing is we're just reviewing the policy and updating the date. What we need to do moving forward is to review it, like you say, against actual child protection issues to make sure it's working. Were Kayako able to respond safely in that moment? Does the policy need to be updated to support children better? You don't need to do anything with that until that policy is due to be reviewed. So your current policy is fine. Ministry will just expect to see some different processes around your review once that's up for review.
That's the questions that I've had.
Oh yeah, I can just see Rowena's just commented. Yeah, public health. Yeah, give a shout out to public health. If you've got a parent comes in, hopefully they don't come in with a child with measles. Sorry, I'll reframe that. You get a phone call, a parent telling you about an incident. Give public health a call, let them know that you've been informed of a potential measles case. They'll already know about it because the GP or the person who has diagnosed the child, they're responsible for notifying public health. So give a shout out to public health. They will tell you what you need to do.
Thank you. Anybody else on the call want to ask a question? Feel free. You can do it with your actual voices instead of chat if you'd like to. No, I think it sounds like we are covered. Oh, I've lost a slide somewhere. We have one more slide which shows you essentially your roadmap and combines all of the short-term kind of quick decisions with the longer-term kind of focus areas and actions that you might want to take. So as part of this pack that we'll send afterwards, we'll include a printable one-pager that you can kind of go through and check off and gives you some really useful tips. We're also working up a poster that you could stick in your staff room to tell your staff what's changing, to highlight how important it is that their practice changes by April the 20th and to point them in the direction of your policies, wherever they may be, so that everything is in one place and really easy to communicate and set your centres up on the right track for these changes. We've got we want to respect your time, and so we just want to say thank you for joining. I'm going to get Dave just to say hello in case that you do book a demo. as I said, we are here, we're in Christchurch. We have been chatting to tons of centres, and yeah, we've had the education and care policies for a couple of months now. We launched in December, and we are working on Kōhanga Reo and Home Base, which will be live by April 20th too. So Vanessa and the team are working incredibly hard, lots of late nights and conversations with centres to kind of figure out the detail and the nuance in terms of how policies are written. Our platform works in the way where you log in, or your policies are already written for you, and then you get the option to tailor and customize that wording around how your centre operates. Lots of policy is just law, so that you can't change everything, but there are key kind of passages and key bits that you're able to kind of go into and make those changes. We always provide some suggested wording that you can use as a shortcut, but obviously you can change that if you'd like to. And the great thing is Vanessa and Madeline, who are the team members who review your policies, they will check over anything you suggest. So you don't need to worry about, like you might do with some of those word templates where you download them and then you fill in the yellow gaps. No one checks them. Nobody knows if you've kind of accidentally taken your policies off course. Vanessa and co will make sure that everything is still compliant and meets the requirements. Dave, any final words from you before we let everyone go?
No, I've got a fantastic job. All day, every day, I get to talk to centre managers and centre owners. I do have a small problem with Montessori. I'm expected 3 grandchildren next year, but my local Montessori in Wigram has already got a 2 to 3 year waiting list. And so he's telling me to put them on now, but they're not quite pregnant yet. I've just only got promises. So it was, been very exciting meeting a lot of centre owners. And if you want to open up a new one in Wigram, I'd really appreciate it. So that would be good. But otherwise, very much any questions, happy to show a one-on-one demo. Happy to answer any questions. But Claire, absolutely amazing. Well done. Very good.
Thank you very much, Claire.
That's awesome. Now, I just want to add in, there's one question from Shuba. Is it a subscription, and how does ECEDocs work, please?
So very briefly, it is a subscription for basically $1,300. You could ring us once, you could ring us 100 times. We make 2 promises. 1, that every policy on there will be up to date. 2, every policy on there will be compliant. We won't let you put something on there that's not compliant. We'll work with you for all these changes. Last year, the Privacy Commissioner made a quick change overnight where schools were compliant one day and then non-compliant the other. We updated all those policies very quickly, 2,200 schools, and likewise we're due to the ECE, and we updated them by email. So it is a subscription, just once a year, $1,300.
And so what happens when I went and put the policies onto School Doc, and I presume it'll be exactly the same with ECE, you get access, and then you can go through and you can personalize them. So everything that's, if I remember rightly, anything that was highlighted in yellow, you could add in what you needed to add in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, anything that was black was there to stick. Yeah.
Correct. About 85% of the policy's interpretation of law, 15 to 20% of that is your vision, your values, your philosophy, how you operate. And so both and that's where we say, we need certain information from you that reflects your community, your vision, your values, that comes through those policies. Those sites, you're spot on, Kathy. That's your site. That policy site is unique to you, to your Montessori.
And you can share that with your community as well. That's not just for you and your staff. You can choose who you share that with outside, whether that be your error assessor, in order to prove what you need to prove and kind of demonstrate all your policies are up to date, or whether that's your whānau to get them to engage in what you're doing in your practice and as part of those policy reviews. Any closing words, any final questions before we let you go? I think we are 1 minute ahead of schedule, which is unheard of. No? I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Thank you very much, everyone. Really appreciate your time. I will be responding with an email just to give you access to the recording, etc. If you have any questions that we haven't been able to answer and you're firing them through now, we'll just give you a call or pop you an email just to respond to those. So keep them coming if you need to, or pop Dave a message. We'll let you go. Kia ora koutou, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Bye.